Okay, it looks like people are still filing in. I like seeing that participant number go up and up and up. But let's get started, just in case people have to leave early. Put your name, position, and organization, your website to your organization in the chat so other people can learn about you and your organization, because we are excited to bring all partners across Wisconsin together here. And let's get started if I can figure out how to work this. There we go. So welcome everyone to our first Lunch and Learn of 2023. We started doing these last year and we're really excited and happy with how they've been turning out. I am Landon Solano. I'm a communication specialist here at Forward Service Corporation. I take part in putting the newsletters together that you receive each month, as well as putting these lunch and learns together with our staff and guest speakers. I want to thank everyone for those of you who did attend our lunch and learns last year, as well as filled out our interest survey so that we can see what kind of stuff you want to see in 2023. I think we've got some really great topics and speakers lined up for you, but we do want to know what interests you in your area so that we can explore new topics together. Today's session is being recorded. It will be provided to you on Friday, along with a PDF of this slide deck that you're seeing, so you'll have it for reference. As well as a list of our FSC offices throughout the state. So you'll have a nifty little cheat sheet to find your local office. There will be a Q&A after today's speaker as well. So put your questions into the chat and we will cover it at that time. Just want to talk real quick about our mission here at Forward Service Corporation. We want to prepare individuals for the workforce so that they can obtain stable, high-wage employment and hopefully begin to achieve their dreams. And if you take one thing away from today's presentation, it's that we are dedicated to meeting individuals where they are. Everyone that is referred to us is treated with respect, and we will work tirelessly to connect them with resources that they need in order to succeed. All right, let's talk about today's topic, working with the justice involved. This is a topic that we feel isn't discussed often enough. Craig was great enough to suggest this for us. We thought it was something that could apply throughout the state beyond our organization. The justice involved individuals, especially those who've been recently incarcerated, often have unique needs. To help them succeed in re-entering the workforce, it starts, I think, from our first interaction with them. When you consider that justice-involved individuals have a 40% higher joblessness than the average US worker, there are a lot of factors, obviously, that go into that. But there are some simple things that I think we can do right out the gate that might have a big change. So to speak on this today, we have one of our passionate case managers, Craig Coleman, who works in FSC under the Probation and Parole Program. And he has invited Christopher Zahn, Community Liaison for the Wisconsin Voices for Recovery at the University of Madison. So I'm going to hand it over to Craig for a deep dive on the probation and parole, and then a conversation with Christopher regarding working with justice-involved people. Craig?
Thank you, Landon. Thank you for helping put this together.
Absolutely.
And thank you for all of you here. I can't believe that there's actually 52 people that want to hear what we have to say, but hey, welcome to everybody that's here. I appreciate that. And a special thanks to my dear friend and colleague, Christopher Zahn. I really appreciate you being here, Chris. The probation and parole FSC program started in Oshkosh. We thought that was a good idea, and our PC, Randa Rulford, and other people helped us get a grant from the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation, a 50-50 with DCF, and we put this program together. Been actively doing this for about just a little bit over a year. helped over 110 people find employment and work with them. So far, my average wage is right around $18 an hour for the people that go through my program. So it's a really great program. I find that the justice involved population, for whatever reason, and I know the reasons, make really great workers. They have a bigger stake than a lot of us do in the employment game. They have a lot more to lose and a lot more to gain by finding and keeping good employment. So I love working with this population. They make my job easy because they're go-getters. They're really out there and they really do want to get employment and they really do want to keep their employment. So it makes my job a lot easier. I take a holistic approach to helping the people that get sent to me. By the way, I get referrals from probation agents. That's how I get most of my people. But I try to take a holistic approach. It's not just employment. I try to make referrals if they need help with mental health or substance abuse, if they need help with housing, if they need a vehicle. We have our VTAP vehicle purchase program. All of those things are things that I try to take into account, depending upon their needs. Of course, they'll let me know. So that's kind of how it works for me, Landon. I'm not the expert here. That's Christopher. And we'll take questions later on. But thank you very much again for helping us put this on.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig, can I ask real quick before we hand it over to Christopher? You say you take a holistic approach. What does that exactly entail?
Well, so it's customer driven. Every time somebody comes and sits across the table from me here, I ask them, what is it that you need? What is, tell me your story, first of all. And then, some people, number one, I got to find a place to live. I got to find a housing or not. My number one concern is employment, or my number one concern is I don't have a way to get to work. And we here at Forward Service have different ways of helping with those through our care network, helping with things like housing or finding a vehicle or helping with a bus pass or gas vouchers and things like that. That's what I mean by holistic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, well, let's hand it over to Christopher to take the reins here for a while. And if you have questions and want to bring up any topics along the way, put them into the chat and I will try to bring that up so it doesn't block the screen. But yeah, put them there. Christopher, thank you so much for being with us today. We're very excited to hear what you have to say about this topic.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it's certainly an honor to be here today. Craig called me an expert. I'm not so sure about that. The only thing, and Craig knows this about me, the only thing I'm an expert in is my life experience, and certainly within that, the way I would like to have been treated. And certainly Craig touched on that. That was the whole holistic approach. I talk about this when people ask me, how do I relate with people that are directly impacted by the criminal justice system? There is no textbook answer, but quite simply, the way I like to say it is be a human being to another human being, because we're all human beings. And the way it is, we're all citizens of this universe and we each should act accordingly. And that's what's important. If you want to sum up a holistic approach, it's being a human being to another human being. So one of the things that I like to bring up right away is that these are very difficult for me. And because I do have a diagnosis, I have extreme social anxiety. Within that, I also have substance use disorder. And within that access, I have major depressive disorder. I also have complex PTSD and trauma. And I know that that sounds bizarre that I bring that up, but the reason I do is it's only a part of my makeup. And it's easy. I'm no longer ashamed of that. And that's what happens with people that are directly impacted by the criminal justice system. 80% of the people we incarcerate in the state of Wisconsin have substance use disorder and mental health disorder, and we stigmatize that. And it's not about having that stigma anymore. It's about being open and being able to share that and to let employers know that if you are employing people, not to treat them any different from your other employees, but to understand that there is other complex issues that are at hand. And Craig will tell you about this. When you're on supervision, you have to see your agent. It could be Wednesday at 10 a.m. You can't not go to that appointment. If you miss those appointments, you will be considered absconding and you will find yourself in custody. So it's very important for employers to understand that when you have that employee, and you will have a dedicated employee, you will have a loyal employee because you have granted them that opportunity to work for your organization, but have that leniency when they say, I need to go to my agent at Wednesday at 10 a.m. It's during their work time, but if you want to continue to have that employee, they need to make that appointment. There is also other appointments that are necessary within supervision. Let that person go to those appointments. Have that understanding. And that's what Craig talked about. It's part of that holistic approach. And I know as employers, I don't know if there's any on here. I don't know who's attending, but what you will have, and I know every employer has a labor shortage, what you will have is the best word of mouth about your company, because people within the system itself that are directly impacted will share that information with each other and say, I work at company ABC. They work with me. They let me see my agent. They let me go to my appointments. They are very understanding. And that word will spread like wildfire. And people will want to come and work at that company because you have that understanding. You have that mutuality with one another. So I'm just Landon, if you can put up my slide, the first one, if you could do that for me. Okay, this looks impressive. This is Wisconsin Voices of Recovery. I'm assigned to the Department of Family Medicine and Community Health at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health. People are probably wondering, what's this got to do with directly impacted? Well, it does. Because I will let you know right now, I am one of those persons directly impacted by the criminal justice system. I did not get to my position today without putting in the work that was necessary and having people believe in me. I'll be very honest. I spent 15 years in prison. I never thought I would be there, but people gave me that opportunity. Employers gave me that opportunity to come in and have a chance to be successful. That's what it took. They had that understanding when I needed to go see my agent. They had that understanding when I would have appointments. So it didn't happen overnight. And Craig knows this, and people that work in this world, especially at Forward Service Corporation, they know that and understanding. That's what we talk about. And that's what Forward Service Corporation does so well. They believe in the people that they work with, the people. And I will reiterate that word, people. We are all people. And that's so important. So if you go to my next slide, Landon, as you can see, I work with the team. Craig will tell you about this. I do not like letters after my name. I never do, but I work for an institution. I work for an academia world. They love letters. As you can see, there is none of my education behind my name. These are letters that are very dear to me. I'm a certified peer specialist in the state of Wisconsin. I'm a recovery coach trainer, and I'm a recovery coach. That's what's important, because even within that, I still create mutuality. I work in my area at the Department of Family Medicine. I am still blown away with the people I work with. I look at name plaques and I see their name, comma, and I see titles MD, PhD, MBA. And I'm like, okay, what world am I in? But That's what's important. Anything is possible. And especially for employers, I'm a dedicated employee. Craig and I talk about this relentlessly with the people that we work with, and we have this saying, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. And we follow that. And people who are directly impacted learn that from us because it's so important. If you're an employer and you employ our people, you will get the most dedicated employee. You'll get the one that shows up early, that will work the overtime, that will stay late, that will be dependable, because you've now overlooked their past. And certainly for me today, my past does not define me. What I do each and every day is my definer in life. I do the right thing every day. Now we're going to go to a slide that I've never shared before. This is brand new, but I want you to see a part of me and a part of my makeup. So if Landon, if you can go to the next slide. There you go. And see that number above there? That is my Department of Corrections number. It will never leave me. It is mine. It will stay with me after I'm dead. It won't go to anybody else. And the reason I put that up there, because there was a point in my life that I didn't even have the right to have a name. I was a number. That was the question that was always asked of me. They never said, what is your name? The first thing that you were always asked is, what is your number? And it's very difficult for me when I finally decided to show this slide, because it's certainly not the true me. It was a part of me that I struggled with for many, many, many years. But it is a part of my makeup. It is a part of who I am today. It's a part of where I was and where I'm at today. It's not to scare anyone, although I do think it's very scary, because when I look at it, it is pretty rough, you know, but it's to show that, and you see my photo that was popped up. I've got a suit and tie on, everything. I speak well, but so do all of us. So do all of us. We're very respectful. Craig and the people at Forward Service Corporation who work with people directly impacted will tell you we're very courteous, we're very respectful. You know, the other thing is you'll see tattoos, you know, that's not who that person is inside. It's only an external. People ask me the question, do I have tattoos? Well, yes, I do. I actually got mine at the private prison. It was Corrections Corporation of America. I was sent to Whiteville, Tennessee. So do I have that? Yes. You can't see it, but those are all externals. It's what's inside. I was always a good person inside, but I struggled on the outside. What Forward Service and employers can do is give a person a chance, and a chance to succeed in their communities. One of the things that we don't realize, and it doesn't matter what community you are from or what county you're from in the state of Wisconsin, but 95% of the people we incarcerate will be released back into their respective communities. People want to come back and have a chance to succeed. And that's what's so important. I got to tell Landon, can you just move to the next slide? It's kind of scary. It's kind of throwing me off. So there's just my contact info, but that's what's so important. You know, if given the opportunity, we can succeed. We are driven, we are motivated. We are loyal, we're dedicated employees. We will work hard. And also the way to look at it, we will start being a productive member of our communities. We will be paying taxes. We won't be costing our communities money anymore. And if we have the opportunity, and I know all of us here, we pay taxes. No one likes paying taxes. If you do, I don't know about that. But one of the things is our taxes go to our Department of Corrections in our state budget. And that The average cost to incarcerate somebody in the state of Wisconsin at a base rate is $35,000 a year. And that's if anybody has no needs. And if we incarcerate 80% of the people with substance use disorder and mental health disorder, that number can grow exponentially because then they have needs. I don't think there is anyone in our prisons right now that have no needs. So $35,000 a year as a base rate is basically your room and board and your security costs. That's what it comes down to. If we look at things differently, we have an opportunity to be the change makers in their community, especially the employers. Look past when you see that, when somebody checks that box. And one of the things is, if you want employees, remove the box from your applications. Remove, do you have a criminal history, or have you ever been, I think it's directly impacted. There's a lot of different wording now, but get rid of it. Look at the person. Will you see gaps in employment? Yes, but don't necessarily exclude that person because they've checked your box. Bring them in, see their skill set, get to meet them. Give the person an opportunity to be productive in their respective communities. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I'm honored to have this opportunity, and thank you so very much.
Christopher, do you mind? May I ask you a few questions?
Absolutely.
I'm kind of curious what employers can do when they're meeting with someone to make it a safe and open space to express, because you'd mentioned a lot of people have extra needs. What can an employer do to make it a safe space to mention those needs, like going to meet their agents or what have you?
So I think it comes down to, Landon, when you bring that person in for the interview, especially if you don't have the criminal justice box on your applications, you can ask that question. And people will be honest. They will be transparent. They will tell you, yes, I have been involved in the criminal justice system. Yes, I'm still on supervision. Then as employers or human resources, then ask that question. Are you still on supervision? Do you have do you report every week, every other week? Is it monthly, every 3 months? You know, which are pretty standard within the Division of Community Corrections based on what they call the custody rating. You know, there is maximum supervision, medium supervision, and minimum supervision. But it's also an opportunity for employers to reach out, to be educated on that and have those reasonable accommodations. Reach out to Craig, reach out to Forward Service Corporation, just for that education on how the system works.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'm wondering if you can, like, in regards to this, but also like when you first came into Forward Service Corporation or you met with Craig, can you give me an example of what that person-to-person connection looks like in action? Like, from your personal experience, how did it feel when you were asked your name versus a number for the first time? It just as a starting off point.
At first, it's very surreal. And when I would say, right, I was never a client of Forward Service Corporation, but I met Craig, who was an employee at that time. And what Craig did to me was offered his hand and said, "My name is Craig Coleman. It's nice to meet you." Mm-hmm. That simple act in itself of mutuality is the starting point. It's afford anybody that you encounter with the same common courtesy that we expect from one another. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so important. And then Craig and I had a conversation. He took that opportunity to listen. Mm-hmm. And actively listen and not put me down in any way. He was like, he said to me, "I'm so glad that you're back in the community. Is there anything that I can do to help you?"
Yeah.
And that's what's important. Is there anything that I can do to help you? And it's about that transition.
Mm-hmm. I've heard from other participants and people that there's a big difference there in someone asking you, is there anything I could do for you or that you need, versus putting the emphasis on you to ask for specific help.
And that is so important, because one of the things is, and it doesn't matter who you are, it's like asking that you're, as we say, a charity case, and we're certainly not that. So you change that dynamic in the conversation. Don't let that person have that feeling of guilt and shame, especially if you're transitioning from incarceration, because everything that you needed in there, you had to ask for. You had to ask permission for it. You know, it was even simply in the act of ordering canteen. You had to ask, or you might have lost that privilege. So when you change that dynamic, and when Craig or anybody in forward service or employer, how can I help you succeed? What is it you need from me? That is the different dynamic.
You had mentioned also the idea that you and Craig have come upon of, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. And it's just sparked in my head, like, speaking from your personal experience, if you don't mind, what does it mean for you to show up to anything, whether it be a meeting, you know, a resource appointment, something with your agent? I don't want to say in terms of expecting something out of another, but your unique needs in approaching a situation, showing up to something, has, I don't want to say greater stakes to it, but there's more behind it that you're showing up. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about, I guess, what does it mean for you to show up to something?
So one of the things is, it's about changing, as I call, the prison mentality. You know, everything is on a set schedule. You have certain counts. You'll have, you know, telling you a 10-minute warning, and you're always taking your, as they say, your sweet time, because you're forced into that. You know, so it's about changing the prison mentality that this is for you now. This is about not going because somebody has ordered you to do something. This is about you changing yourself and being the best version of yourself. So when we talk about, you know, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late, it's to change that mentality, because after so long, it becomes habitual. So it's about changing those things and those mindsets. And it's also, it raises your own self-esteem and self-worth and self-dignity, because now you're doing it for yourself. It's all about, as I say, it's our brain is like a big computer. It's about reprogramming the code. It's about rewriting the code.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher, one of the beautiful things that I've heard you speak before is telling former incarcerated people that you're going to hold yourself to a higher standard now. And that, can you just talk about that? Because I love it.
So one of the things that I never do, and I've never done in my career, is telling a person what they should do, what they have to do, what they need to do, and putting all this expectation on a person. Because one of the things is, if we have too many expectations, we fail. And I also tell them, don't become that expectation, because the societal norm for a person who gets out of prison is they're going to fail. That's just the norm. So don't become that expectation. So what I ask a person is, let's hold each other accountable to a higher standard in the community all times. Hold me accountable to that. Let's walk with our heads held high, because there is the propensity that people that have got out of incarceration will walk by a person with their head down. I teach them, no, it doesn't matter. Walk by that person. If you see them on the street, good morning. If you're talking to a cashier at Walmart, thank you so much. How's your day going? It's all important to change that dynamic. And it actually helps the person grow to become the best version of themselves. But also in that regard, as I tell people, look how long, we've tried to climb that wall, and we've tried to look over with our fingertips, and we're hanging on by our fingernails. But if we hold each other accountable to a higher standard in that community, we'll never get the wall down completely, but we'll get enough bricks out of there that people will see us as a human being, and they will see that we are becoming the best versions of ourselves. So that's about that higher standard.
It's, yeah, really, it seems so simple, when you look at it, from the broader perspective, but I guess it's a lesson for us all to learn about being empathetic and not making judgments before we meet a person. I think that's really powerful, though. Those little changes that we can do, just saying hello, or making eye contact on the street, can have such a profound effect on people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what you do as a community liaison for Wisconsin Voices for Recovery?
So it's very different. We have quite a few initiatives. One of them is in Brown County. I don't know what other counties are here today, but we have the ED2 program. It's Emergency Department to Recovery. So anybody that comes in with substance use disorder, they will call one of our orgs to come in and help that person look at different resources. We have the naloxone boxes that we install. We have them censored. We have them, and right now, I want to say 39 counties in the state. And we actually put the box up. We put Narcan in there. We have fentanyl test strips. We have CPR masks. And we don't require anybody. We just have basically an MOU with a contact person. Mm-hmm. And we come and take care of the Narcan. We have it censored. One of our team reaches out and said, hey, just your box was open. Can you tell us what was taken? Was the Narcan taken? Was it used to reverse an overdose? That's just the simple questions we do. We do recovery coach trainings. We do stigma interviews. We do podcasts. So we do a lot of different things within that. One of the things that I talk on is also stigma in the workplace, because we do encounter that. And, and I talk about, well, what is your appropriate response to that? Because sometimes we still use those things, and people say addict and alcoholic and convict and certain terms. So I asked them, well, how would you respond to that? So we have to look at those, and it's about changing those words into eliminating that stigma. Whereas a person, I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'm no longer the addict and alcoholic. I'm no longer convict. I'm a person directly impacted by the criminal justice system. And the word there that's imperative is person. Using the words, and we still say it, well, the inmates. No. You think about an inmate, and it just gives you that connotation that it's somebody that's caged like an animal. No, we say the people in jail or prison. So, and it's about how, if somebody you're working with was, well, man, you an ex-con? Well, no, I'm not. I'm actually a person that's been impacted by the criminal justice system, but I'm doing much better today. I'm employed now. I'm part of this community again. So just don't need to be in any way, but it's about letting a person know who you truly are, because you're not that. That only defines you if you let it define you. And it's difficult, especially coming out of incarceration. You still come out with that, as I talk about, that prison mentality, where we need to rewrite the code, because you call somebody and you have to think about, you're in an environment that has a propensity to violence. And I'm not going to say it any less. And it's about respect and disrespect. So you call somebody in any name within that system, then you, as they say, you will puff up and you're going to react, not act upon the situation. So it's about changing that dynamic. How do you handle yourself at this point? This is not prison. This is not jail. You know, some people are not going to like you, and that's okay. Not everybody has to like you. Just go and be you and work hard, do your job, you know, take care of your children, take care of your family, you know, pay your child support, do all the right things. It's not about anybody else. It's about you.
Yeah, that's really, it's a lot of things to tackle all at once. I mean, it seems like it can feel insurmountable at times, but taking one aspect at a time, you know, do you have any resources that people can utilize in terms of, you know, like flyers or a website that people can learn more about this stuff?
Yes, I mean, we have a website. I'll put it in the chat.
Great.
And then all of our information is contained on there. Also, you know, that's what I have an utmost respect for Craig and Forward Service, because there's a lot of time where there is difficulty in mutuality. So Craig will reach out to me and say, you know, I'm working with this person. It's a little difficult. Can you help me out? And I'll be like, sure, whatever you need, you know, because sometimes bringing in me is a little bit different where it's basically I'm vetting Craig. It's like, no, Craig's a great guy. There's no angle. There's no hustle. Work with him. He wants the best for you. And it's that simple words. And they're like, oh, okay. You know, because there is that lack of trust. There is that lack of mutuality. But coming from me, because I've lived it, makes the difference.
Craig, do you, in terms of that sort of interaction there, do you have any examples of what that looks like in action from your end?
Yeah, so a lot of times I'll call Christopher in when I have somebody with addiction issues, especially if they're not dealing with that issue in a healthy way. Christopher has a very powerful way of reaching people with his lived experience. And I've just seen miracles, literal miracles happen when he talks to people, saying things like, I love you, because we share this gift of addiction and this gift of former incarceration. Christopher truly considers those gifts, and I understand that. Those are things that you can't pay for I can't pay for an education and how to be justice involved. You know what I mean? That's something that you have to have lived through. I can't pay to go to college to learn how to be an addict because this. So Christopher has those big, powerful gifts that I'll call in when I have some struggles with, especially people with addiction issues. Yeah.
And Craig knows this when I've worked, because he's heard me say it, is when a person says, well, I'm a felon. I was like, wow, that's a beautiful thing. And Craig's seen the reaction and they, what? I said, well, that is a beautiful thing. I said, but see, because right now in society, people want you to think that your life is over. So reframe that. Your felony is a beautiful thing. It's part of you. So make it a positive. I said, because once you get to where you need to be, that felony, which is a beautiful thing, can bring light to somebody else's darkness. And then it clicks in their mind because now we've reframed it. It's no longer a negative. Hey, you're a felon. That's a beautiful thing. Love that, man. That's great.
Yeah. So here's a question kind of for both of you, and it's a bit of a deceptive question and overly simple, but the relationship between you and Craig and working together is, I think, a great example of why partnerships can kind of supercharge all of our efforts. And it's one of the main goals here for these lunch and learns, these info sessions. And I'm wondering for both of you, why that's important. I mean, you've touched on this whole conversation has kind of been illustrating that, but can you summarize in a way why that sort of partnership between two places to tackle an issue is important?
When I first met Christopher, you were working at Darjun, helping people with it was a place where, what am I trying to say? Sober living place to go, like a cafe. And I brought somebody there to volunteer. And I knew the minute that Christopher started talking that this was somebody I had to know. He was speaking something to me, to my soul. I could hear something. And Christopher called it, and I love it. The universe conspires to help us. And I truly believe that the universe, whatever it is, that power out there, is always seeking to bring people like Christopher and I together, because we believe in the same mission, helping people, and treating people the way that people need to be treated, especially those that have been justice involved or struggle through addiction. That's, so that's, kind of what my perspective on that.
Mm-hmm. Christopher, do you have any, like, in terms of working with Craig, Forward Service, or even any of the other partners that you have around your area, why it's important to be able to connect to tackle these things?
It's really important because if we come together as a collaborative effort, we will do greater good. Not everyone has all the necessary skill sets. Forward Service does amazing with what they do, but they can't really necessarily get into the substance use disorder and the mental health disorder. They need to look at other avenues, because the goal is for people to be successful. So it's a collaborative effort. As we say, it takes a whole village. And how do we come as a whole village and wrap it around that person? Because not everyone knows all the resources available. The best way that I like to describe myself is I'm a resource broker. That's my job. I learn resources.
Yeah.
If I don't have it, I'll find it. If it doesn't exist, somebody's got it. We can replicate it. So that's what it really comes down to. If we want to be the most effective for the greater good, it takes a collaborative effort, and also a collaborative effort with employers. Every employer, and they know it, and especially there's standard operating procedures, there's SOPs. Well, sometimes you need to adapt. They need to be adapted. And especially in this market with such a labor shortage, then employers look at your standard operating procedures. Do they need to be amended? Do they need to be changed? Do you really need to have the box on your applications? Or if you do keep it, which I don't agree with, that's on a personal level, do you then basically put that application, as I call it, in file 13, which is the garbage can? No. Look at the person. Don't put it on the bottom of the list if they have the skill set that you're looking for.
I think that's why jobs like Craig's are so important, to be able to make those employer connections and help get that one step further toward the interview and toward meeting the person, because it is so much easier to have that connection when you're face to face or even over the phone versus just looking at a resume.
I like to say,
Yep.
as far as background checks, doing a background check, you're finding out something that happened in this person's past. That is not the person that's sitting in front of you right now.
Mm-hmm.
That background check that came back, that's what happened before. The person sitting in front of you right now is a much changed person than the person that paid the price by serving his time. And I try really hard to get employers to see that that's a different person sitting in front of you right now. I think it's so important.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things I tell people: if you want to run a background check on me, you're not doing anything good for the environment, because you're killing a whole tree. Because I've worked with the federal government. I'm a provider in Wisconsin. You run a true background check on me, and Craig has seen it. It is 84 pages long. So
Wow.
Is it even worth it? Because it
Yeah.
certainly doesn't define who I am.
Well, I think I've asked enough questions here. I want to open this up to everybody else while we have a few minutes left. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat here, and we'll address them. Otherwise, we will continue going on. While we wait potentially for a few questions here, Christopher, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I think your information is and your mission is so important. This is something that I think we need to start changing the conversation about. So I'm glad that this is one tiny little step in that direction. And thank you for doing what you do and for being here.
No, thank you for asking me. It's certainly an honor. I believe it's so important for people to see the person.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm certainly, if you didn't know and I didn't share that information with you, you would have just thought, well, it's another professional person. Well, yes, I am, but I have a past.
Yeah.
Christopher, if there's businesses or other FSC offices on here, what is your territory that you could provide those Narcan boxes? Where do you cover?
I cover the entire 72 counties in Wisconsin. So the entire state.
Wow. We have a lot of people in the chat just thanking you for being here and for everything you do as well. So hopefully you can take a look at that if you enjoy reading those sorts of things, but it's mutual. We're all very thankful for you to be here. I guess I haven't seen any questions come in. So if you have any questions, this is, I guess, speaking to the people in the future who are watching this virtually through the recording. You can always reach out to us and we'll try to get you whatever answers and resources that you might need. I'm just gonna go through the little wrap up here, but I have oh wait, we got one here. How would we set up to get Narcan boxes in our offices? There's a question for you.
So it's really easy. We have a naloxone program box coordinator. If FSC, and I'm putting Craig out there and I apologize, but Craig has that information. We just had that meeting recently with Ms. Rolford also. It's a very easy process.
Yeah, Kai, just hit me up and I'll give you all the information and how to get the training done for the Narcan too.
Oh, we got another question that came in here, kind of a long one. Working with youth who age out of foster care in Wisconsin, we see that many of them are also justice involved. I know there are youth justice and youth voice efforts. Do you work with youth as well as adults? That's to Christopher and Craig. Are there any direct work with youth justice involved individuals?
You go first, Chris.
So I actually have another job and Craig's laughing. So I actually work for Brown County Health and Human Services on my days off. I'm a youth support specialist. I work at shelter care. And that's one of the reasons. One of the things that I talk to the adolescents about is about Craig and forward service. They're always looking for direction. One of the things I'll say, well, what's your interest? And forward service has a great collaboration with the trans program. And I tell them about that. I've been to the graduations. I know Renard. So I talk about that and saying it's a great opportunity. People have moved their careers from being in that program alone. But yes, there's a lot of different monies available when a person ages out of foster care. There's different grants available. I know there is some, and Craig can maybe correct me, but I know there's some money to go to school for free also, where it's in the state. There is other organizations that primarily work with youth and especially kids that were youth justice involved. Usually it's through your county health and human services. Once again, I can help you out with that too. If you need specific information, I can usually find it. I'm appointed to the Criminal Justice Committee in Madison, and the person that leads that committee is with DHS, and that's primarily her job is youth justice. So it's certainly a resource that I could tap into if anybody needs more information within that.
Yeah, WIOA has a youth arm that specifically helps people that are aging out of the foster care system. So WIOA is one program that does that. The other, and I do get referrals from Amanda Milan, who is the person who works in the jail through Minoka Hill Alternative School. If she finds people or kids that are in the jail that want to work or want to talk about the trans program or things like that, then I go to the jail quite a bit and talk to those people. So yes, I do work with youth as well, and I have more than enough jobs for kids. If they want to work, which I don't see a whole lot of that, but if they do want to work, I got plenty of jobs for them.
Thank you both. Is there any other questions? All right, Craig, I guess since we have just 1 or 2 minutes here, this was your idea to do this topic. And you said that it's something that you think all staff, both at FSC and outside FSC could benefit from. Do you have any final thoughts on why that is?
Well, number one, Christopher hit on a couple of times, the labor market is stretched tight. And there's 6,000 people coming out of these prisons in the state of Wisconsin every year. And a lot of those people are willing and able to work. And I think that we have an obligation as community members to help those people get their lives back together so the recidivism rate stays low and that they don't go back to jails or prisons. And we as members of this community, this universe, we have an obligation to help people that are in need. And, I just really think that people in Forward Service Corporation need to hear what Christopher has to say about changing the paradigm, changing the way that we think about former incarcerated people, and also helping them change the way that they think about themselves. I will never let somebody sit across from me and say, I'm a felon. And don't ever use that word in front of me. You're John Smith. You're not a felon. You're not a number. I just think it's really important for us to remember that.
Fantastic. Well, then I'm going to segue toward the end here and just say that if you want to enroll someone in FSET, the probation and parole program, if you know someone who could benefit from that, or any of our programs like Wisconsin Works, W2, WIOA, you can refer them to Forward Service Corporation on our website or the local office, which that contact information will be provided to you in a document on Friday. Just want to give a quick reminder that there will be, I will follow up on Friday with some additional materials. We have a survey here that I've put. This is brand new, just to let us know how you felt about today's session, ways that we can improve, and it will really help us plan for 2023. So if you have a second to fill that out, we'd really, really appreciate it. And you can always find us on social media for resources to get in touch with us, ask us for help. And I guess for Craig and Christopher, thank you so much for being here. I've been Landon Solano, and we will see you all next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Landon. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.